At 14 minutes after 8, this is Morning Express, and what a heated debate Sophia had there on the way it is. I can guarantee you it was not choreographed. However, it is time for us to get inspired right now. And today on Lifestyle, we have an inspirational story from Mr. and Mrs. Mwangi. And before I bring them in, drug and alcohol abuse is something which is becoming a prevalent problem in this country. And it's a conversation that we must have because it's on the increase. It is in schools, it is in homes. The thing is, it does not also discriminate. It's not for the poor or for the rich. It goes across the board. And once you're an addict, well, you're more or less a slave of that substance or that thing that you abuse. And how do you get out of the cycle? How do you stop becoming a slave? And after you've come out of that cycle, what do you do? And well, Mr. and Mrs. Mwangi have not only come out of the cycle, but they decided they'll not stop there. They'll do something about that. And that's what we're going to be having that conversation about. Remember that you're allowed to participate. You can share your experience. You can let us know if you're struggling and possibly if you're looking for ways out, or maybe you have solutions of how you manage to overcome. The conversation continues on Twitter, and that's at Michael G. Gitonga and at Sophia Wanuna. But at this point, let me bring in Bernard Mwangi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
And we also have Judy Wamboi Mwangi, Mr. and Mrs. Mwangi. Yes. Right, let me start with you, Judy. And maybe you can just start by sharing with us, first of all, your experience. How did you get into drug abuse, and what, first of all, were you abusing at the time?
Okay. I started using drugs after I finished high school, and I went to college and I was working. I met a Nigerian guy who was doing drugs, and that is how I started. So what happened, when I was growing up, nobody ever told me they loved me. So when I met this guy, he showered me with a lot of love and a lot of money. So I did not care what he was doing. So one day I came home, and there's a lady we used to house in our house. She's the one who used to be sent like to Pakistan and get the stuff. So I came home one day and I said...
In this Nigerian's guy's house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when we met, I moved in immediately. So
how old were you at the time?
I was 24.
Okay.
So I came home, I said, last night I didn't sleep well. And the lady told me, just have a puff of this and you'll sleep like a baby. And for sure, I slept like a baby. But that one puff led me to 5 years of hell.
What was that you puffed?
That was heroin. And I used heroin for 1 year without knowing what I was using. I just used to know the street name, Staff. So
S-T-U-F-F?
Yes.
Okay.
You used to call it Staff. It has like 10 names. Kono majina mingi sana. So so the following day I wanted to have the same feeling I had yesterday. Heroin is a highly addictive drug. So I got hooked so fast. Eventually I stopped working. So I just used to stay in the house, smoke and sleep, smoke and sleep. But now the stuff was just in the house. So my life got worse when this guy went outside the country and he was jailed. So what happened, I started stealing from myself. You know how you steal from yourself? You start selling your stuff. So
just for you to get hold of the stuff?
Yeah. So first I used the money he had left for me, and then I started selling my stuff. It was kind of a barter trade. The lady I was buying the stuff from is the one who took my things. Alikuwa nakuja ananiambia kama like if I take this fridge, I'll give you like 2. That time, 1 gram used to go for 1,800, and 1 gram is something like this. You just smoke it for like 5 hours and it's over. And
that 5 hours is you smoke kidogo, you stop, you smoke again? Or is it like 5 hours of you just...
You smoke, you sleep. We used to call it kuyoyoma. You smoke till you yoyoma. You smoke till you yoyoma.
Yoyoma means you just black out?
Yeah, you just black out.
Okay. So
it went on like that. I sold everything, and then I decided to go back home. So when I went back home, I didn't have a relationship with my parents. So even when I started going astray, they did not realize. But there's a tablet we used to buy over the counter from the chemist. It's called, street name is Bugizi, but it's called Rohypnol. It's used to sedate people. So my tongue was always blue. So I went home, I met my uncle. I was totally high, but I was not smelling of alcohol. So he realized there's something wrong with Judy. So he told my mom, and when my mom asked me, I didn't deny. I said yes, and then my mom didn't know where to take me. She took me to Mathare Hospital. At that time, at Mathare Hospital, there was no rehab. So nikawekwa kwa wazimu. So I used to be given those dawas. So one day my mom came to see me, and she brought me a Bible. So she told me to write my name. I could not figure out how J is written. So I asked her, Mom, J is written like this, am I like this? So she was like, hey, it's like she's getting worse. So with that, I managed to manipulate her to get me out of Mathare. So when we left Mathare, you know, when you get into addiction, nobody teaches you some things. Basically, your life stops. And you become a pathological liar. You're not responsible for your life. So at this point, I had already manipulated her. I told her, we must go to town, because she told me, I'm getting you out of here under one condition. You'll agree to come home with me. So I told her it's okay, but you have to go to town. I get my clothes, and the woman who is keeping my clothes, I'm owing that lady 1,000 bob. So she gave me 1,000 bob. When we came to town, I just left her. I went to smoke. So after 2 weeks, my sisters, they came looking for me, because my sister used to work around Nyamakema, and I used to smoke down there, Grogo, Nuko Chini. So she came looking for me, and she told me that my dad is looking for me, and he wants to take me to a rehabilitation center. So I went home. I was taken to the first treatment center. I stayed there for 3 months, and normally, if you're using hard drugs, you're supposed to stay in a rehabilitation center, at least minimum time, 6 months. So after 3 months, I managed to manipulate my parents again to get me out of the treatment center. So they got me out. I went home. I stayed for 9 months, and then I came back to Nairobi.
Okay. Maybe I'll pause you right there before we go to the rehab center and continue this conversation. Now, normally with drug addiction, from what we understand, it's normally progressive. You start maybe with smoking, just your kawaida smoke, then maybe go to something like marijuana, not marijuana, what do you call it? Marijuana. And from marijuana, then maybe you now start abusing hard drugs. Did you graduate straight to heroin?
I started with heroin, and I got stuck there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.